Now we all know that the key to the power and drivability of your Japanese performance import is the turbocharger. And when you want to buy a new one or upgrade, it's pretty straightforward. You can get all of the sizes and specifications from the manufacturer, and you can speak to plenty of professionals to find out more. But when you want to buy a second-hand turbocharger, things tend to change a little bit. It can be a little bit of a lucky dip, as often turbochargers are missing serial numbers. They've had work done to them before, and they look like one thing, but on the inside can be something completely different. We were reminded of this recently when we bought a wrecked GTR that was meant to have an R33 engine with N1 turbos inside. We got lucky with the engine, but when we pulled the turbos off, one thing that we did know is that they are certainly not N1 turbochargers. So to find out exactly what the turbochargers were, what's inside and what we can do with them, we bought them to Australia's premier turbocharger specialists, GCG Turbos. Now when we pulled the two turbos off our R33 GTR engine, the reason that we knew they weren't Dash 7s was pretty simple. Because of the front compressor housing. These are actually a 0.6 front compressor housing, which means they're larger than a Dash 7, because Dash 7s are 0.42. And when we brought the turbochargers down to GCG, the front turbo was very easy to identify. It still had its serial numbers on there, and it turned out to be a 2860-5 turbo. But the rear turbo was missing its serial numbers. The center cartridge is actually a plain bearing, so it's a bush bearing, while the Dash 5 is a ball bearing. And the rear housing, although the same size, is missing the divider. So this turbocharger actually turned out to be a bit of a bitzer. Someone has put this turbocharger together in the past. It was lacking any type of serial numbers, and when they pulled it apart, they actually found out from the wear on the thrust, as well as the damage to the wheels, this turbocharger's had a pretty severe failure at some stage and needs a rebuild either way. Well, we ended up with two mismatched turbos that are both able to be rebuilt, but obviously we don't want to put two different turbos back onto our RB26. Now, after speaking with the guys from GCG, it was a pretty logical decision that we would go with the Dash 5 turbo. But here lies the problem. A Dash 5 is a little bit too big for a standard RB26, as I want a lot of response for the street. So what I was looking for was Dash 7 turbos. So after talking with the guys, we found a way that we could combine the two. Now, how are we going to do that? Well, with a Dash 5 and a Dash 7, the center section and the cartridge are the same. The rear housing as well as the rear wheel are the same. The only difference between them is that the front compressor housing on a Dash 5 is bigger and it has a different front wheel. If you take a look a little bit closer, here's the Dash 5. As you can see, the wheel fits inside, but when you pick up the Dash 7, it doesn't fit. So what we're going to do is high flow the Dash 7 compressor housing, so we end up with effectively a high flowed Dash 7 turbo. Well, the first turbocharger is finished, and as you can see, it looks completely brand new. And with all the balancing, the work the guys have done, and all the new internals, it'll perform like brand new as well. Now, we mentioned before that when buying a second-hand turbo, you often don't know what's inside, no matter what it looks like on the outside. And this turbo is proof in point of that. From looking at it at a distance with the 0.42 comp cover, it looks like a Dash 7, but take a look inside the compressor housing. You can see it's been opened up and high flowed, and it has Dash 5 internals inside. So now the next thing to do is get this onto our GTR and see how our specially made turbos perform on the dyno.